Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Blueprint, where we delve into the minds of individuals shaping our world and driving innovation. Entrepreneurial spirit is at the heart of these conversations, and I'm thrilled to have a conversation with someone who embodies this spirit. Today, we're honored to have Aerin Lauder as our guest. Aerin is the founder and creative director of Aerin, a global luxury lifestyle brand inspired by her passion for beauty, art, and travel. Aerin's journey is deeply rooted in her family's legacy. She's the granddaughter of Estée Lauder, the iconic founder of Estée Lauder Companies. In addition to her own venture, Aerin remains involved with her family's legacy and work as style and image director for the Estée Lauder Companies. Welcome, Aerin. So why don't we start right at the top? Let's start with, how do you remember feeling when you first launched Aerin in 2012?
Well, I was very scared, but at the same time, very excited. And I had been in Estée Lauder for about 25 years prior to starting my own business. So I had had incredible experiences, opportunities, learnings. I had worked very closely with family members and wonderful mentors. And I really had this dream, and I followed my dream. And it's been an incredible 12 years because what we've created with such a small team is something I'm very, very proud of.
Oh, you should be. It's in starting something. We started Rockefeller Capital Management. We had Rock & Co., which was originally the family office of John Rockefeller Sr. way back in 1882. But effectively, we were starting almost from the beginning, and it's not easy.
It is not easy.
I mean, even with the experience you brought, those 25 years and your family's history, it's still quite hard to do.
It is. It's really hard, and you really have to stay true to who you are. And I always think about all these wonderful stories that Estée used to tell me and I used to hear about. And she would always say you have to be authentic and passionate. And those are two words that I always think about every day.
Well, that comes across even in everything in the background.
Thank you. I'm sorry that your conference has become very feminine, very floral.
My conference room is 10 times better than it was a couple hours ago.
Right. Well, there is a touch of things for the man in the back.
I know. We're going to get
brown
to
chagrin.
But I do have a wife and two daughters, so they'll enjoy seeing this in the background.
Thank you.
Let's go from that to the initial steps you took. Again, right in 2012 to establish Aerin as a luxury lifestyle brand. Because again, even with your experience and your family history, a luxury lifestyle brand, that's a ambitious goal. So what early steps did you take to kind of start creating that path that's led to the 12 years and the success that we've seen?
Well, as creative director, which was the last position I held at Estée Lauder, I was always asked, what are the items you can't live without in the sense of beauty? They said, Estée was your grandmother. You've worked with the best makeup artists from around the world. What are your must-have products? So originally the brand started off as a very kind of capsule collection of beauty products with a few accessories. And I wanted to do a makeup bag and a few items that you couldn't live without and maybe a fragrance. And everyone thought I was crazy because they said, you can't do beauty lifestyle. It doesn't make sense. And I didn't want to take no as an answer. So I followed my dream and I actually focus grouped the concept because in order for me to get the green light from the company to do this, I had to write a business plan, present a concept, and also focus group it. And what was interesting is that people really associated me with style and home and beauty. So it kind of gave me the green light and the confidence to create this concept. And at the time, the word lifestyle was something that was really you were starting to hear about it everywhere. Ralph Lauren had paints, Diane von Furstenberg had plates and towels. It was really that Martha Stewart concept, but even more so. And it really was interesting because now lifestyle brands it's very, very popular. It's a very interesting and popular concept. But at the time when I did this 12 years ago, I was kind of one of the first people to do it.
About the pioneer, but it's caught on.
And it has definitely caught on.
So you really changed the industry. I mean, you made what the way that you've built Aerin has become more the model, and that really didn't exist when you started.
Exactly. And also when you see our stores, we have two little stores that are jewel boxes. And when you walk into them,
where are those? Just so
one is in
knows?
Palm Beach and one is actually in Southampton. And we have a third in the Palisades Village, which has been really also another interesting exercise.
What was it affected by?
It was not affected. It was Recrusa did a spectacular job in preserving the village, but
right.
For now the store is closed.
My understanding is that we've had some clients and colleagues impacted by that, including sadly houses that burned down. That's coming along quite quickly, I've heard.
It is, and they're cleaning up the whole area, and they're hoping to open up the village in 2026. So we're just going to sit tight because it was a great market for us.
So that's going to be your third store.
We opened it, and then 2 months later, the fire happened. So it was really interesting because we were able to then create these beauty lifestyle concepts. And, it goes, when you go into the little stores, we have this wonderful edit. So it's about 70% product we make, such as the product behind me, And then we curate it with wonderful finds from travels or new designers. So it really becomes this lifestyle experience.
So that's got to be, an attractive store for people to go into. I mean, it's got to be an interesting, you have 70% of the products, but then the curation and it attracts people who want to come in and see all this.
People are really starting to copy us because a lot of times now people are doing trunk shows in their stores. They're curating it with very much young designers, new designers. And everything now in retail is about experience. It's interesting music, beautiful cookies or sweets. People offer drinks. So it's really about bringing the customer in and having them feel special.
That started even, years ago with Starbucks opens up and bring your computer and you could stay for a while. But you were really one of the first ones to see you could extend that even to luxury.
And you're seeing it now with a lot of luxury brands. I mean, if you walk into a Gucci, for example, they bring you a bowl of, cookies and sweets and something to drink. And I think you're really seeing that as a trend in retail. And we really try to do that. We do special mixes for the different stores, depending on where they are with music, bowls of candy from Capri, fresh flowers. And, we always offer people water. And there is that whole, we really want it to be very inviting.
You'll have 3 stores when Palisades opens again.
Correct.
Is it something that you look to extend now? Will you
We
try
definitely
to?
are. I'm going to Texas in about two weeks. I'm going to Dallas, looking at a space there. And we have a New York City showroom that we've just opened up to become a shoppable showroom because we saw that there was an opportunity in New York. We have a wonderful partnership with Bergdorf Goodman and Saks, but a lot of the other categories are not sold in those stores. And so our customer who lives in New York or who's visiting New York also wants to experience the Aerin brand. So
we've done the same thing here with Rockefeller, where we've opened offices in most of the major wealth centers in the country. And you could end up, given where the wealth is and the potential clients, we're in literally 30 wealth centers in 50 cities now. I mean, there are places all over the country you might end up in.
that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So what were some of the big challenges in 2012 when you started all this, not just starting it from scratch, but breaking new ground and how you wanted to do it? What were the challenges that you remember today that might someday go in the book?
Well, really thinking outside the box and presenting your concept to retailers and to editors. And, it is a personal reflection of myself, and it is my first name. It has to be the best it could possibly be. And how we really actually started was I did beautiful photographs of the product and the brand. And I also did a list of words. And it's funny, the words that I conceptualized the brand with 12 years ago are still just as relevant. It's pretty, feminine, luxury, storytelling, heritage, American. And when I think about those words, I think they're great words and they're still just as important to the brand. And we've stayed really true to who we are. It's very feminine. It's a lot of storytelling and heritage, which people love. We've even just come out with a whole collection called the Heirloom Collection, which was for home. And it's all about antiques and vintage pieces mixed with made to order. So it really feels special. And our customer really loves that sense of kind of quality and special products. And we have wonderful partners and collaborations. And that's something that you're seeing a lot now with many different brands. People are doing these wonderful collaborations and partnerships. So we have Pottery Barn. We're doing baby and teen. We have Williams-Sonoma, which has been a great partner. And we have just done something with Porto, which is a great brand out of France. And they've never done a collaboration before. So it was exciting and it was all new.
And the way these collaborations work, this is less my day-to-day expertise. You'll do specific things for one of those names, one of those brands.
Exactly.
So you'll come up with something that's special and particular for that brand.
Yes, and it's a kind of a win-win for both of us because it brings in new customers, it creates buzz and excitement, it draws people to whether it's a website or a store. I mean, for example, with the Porto collection, we went into their archives, and Madame Porto, who first started the brand many, many years ago, she was the first person to do pattern and color on bedding and towels. In the world of design, it's a very, very aspirational, beautiful brand. So we went into their archives and found a wonderful old pattern, recolored it, and then has created a whole line of home goods and beauty bags. And one of them is right there. And it's done phenomenally well. So we're very excited with the partnership. So we're starting to work on another one with them.
That's excellent. So early inspirations on this. And, were you convinced right out of the gate that you would use your name? Because, that's also risk-taking, particularly given the family history. Mm-hmm. And, the story is a fantastic story now. But, there was risk. It didn't have to end there. So did you debate other names or?
I did. I looked at other names. I looked at using my last name, and I actually did focus group it, and people loved the first name because it was kind of unusual and unique, and the spelling was very, very special. So it did resonate. And I also, you have to kind of go with your intuition and not overthink everything. And it's very normal to be scared and nervous, but I think that's also what gives you the drive and the passion to continue.
Well, it's incredible. And were there people close to you? Was that something you would talk about with anybody in the family?
I couldn't have done it without my husband and my parents.
Excellent.
And my really good friends. I always used to say that my friends are my focus group because I would always have them try whether it was a fragrance or a product. And I think your friends are always very, very honest with you, almost more so than even family, because your parents always think you're spectacular, but your friends are, can definitely say if they like something or not. So I definitely depend on my friends a lot.
And your sons were younger then, so they weren't really providing inspiration.
They weren't. It was actually a very funny story because I was working on a fragrance many years ago, and I have two sons, very much boys. And, so I was trying this fragrance, and I would bring him to school, and I would give him a hug and send him off on his way. And his teacher called me, and she said, I have to talk to you about something. And he's my younger son. And I was like, oh, no, maybe he did something wrong in the class. I mean, he's a little bit kind of active and kind of naughty. And she said, he smells so good every day when he comes to school. What is he wearing? It's almost like a tuberose. And that is actually the fragrance that's there that I worked on many, many years ago at Estée Lauder. And then I've just this past month brought it over to Aerin. It's done incredibly well. And he'd be mortified if he knew that at the age of 6, he was wearing tuberose gardenia by Aerin.
Although fast forward, they're in their 20s. They must be incredibly proud of their mother for what she built here.
They are. I really, they love what I do, and they're very proud when they see the success of the brand, and also a lot of their friends. It's interesting. A lot of their friends wear the products. So they get a little bit embarrassed because their friends are always saying how much they love the fragrances and the bags, but I think they are proud of me.
To have your name out there as a, tremendous luxury brand, do you look at it sometimes and say, wow, it's incredible what I did with this name?
I do. I am really proud of what we've done. I mean, right now we have about 24 fragrances, and we're in about 800 doors of distribution for beauty. Home is a little bit of a different distribution because it's really more to the trade and it's more showrooms, but still, when you think about Williams-Sonoma and Pottery Barn, those are household names. They're incredible companies, and it's an honor to partner with them. And I've just come out with my 6th book called Living with Flowers. And we've sold about 14,000 books as of now, which is kind of extraordinary because it just launched. And it's definitely not 14,000 books to my mother, who's my biggest. I actually dedicated it to her because she was really the first person to teach me about flowers. So we're really excited with the success of it. And yes, I am really proud of what we've accomplished.
I'm going to buy that book. My wife is enormously interested in and active in gardening.
It's interesting about flowers. Like there's so much symbolism, for example, with the rose. The pink rose is, friendship. The white rose is new beginnings. Red rose is passion. And there's so much about flowers and plants that really you learn. They're really special. It's kind of like a common language. Everyone seems to love them. So I think she'll enjoy the book.
Yeah, I think it is a common language because everybody reacts to it. And it sounds like you continue to adapt and break new ground, to this day. But how's it evolved over time?
Well, it's evolved because we have more partners now and more collaborations. But when I first started, it was a few products, similar to how my grandmother started in 1946. She started with about 5 products.
It's incredible.
Very similar. I was about the same age, and I started with a very, very edited collection of products. It was about 4 or 5 fragrances. People did think I was crazy, but I went with my gut, and I was right because...
And why were they arguing that? Because there's so much out there?
Well, they kind of felt like just start with one, start with one great fragrance. And I thought the whole idea of the story of the brand was really very much about a lifestyle and choice and just allow you to dream a little bit. And we started off with 5 fragrances and some candles and some home objects. And from there, we started growing the brand. But every year, we really stay very kind of focused and tight. We do have a tremendous amount of SKUs, but compared to other brands, we're quite edited because we have these wonderful little jewel box stores. So therefore, you can't have tons and tons and tons of product. We really try to stay edited and focused.
And that probably really creates a following. I mean, as opposed to you're offering the universe, you're offering really targeted set of things that you think about.
It's edited. Like I'm really like the true editor and a friend. And I think, when I approve something and I put it in our store and I put it in the environment that it's in, I really show the support and I love it. And everything in that store is something that I would love, whether it's a fragrance, a candle, or a piece of clothing.
And even though you're the founder and all of this goes through you, you have your
everything
fingerprints on
That's
all
probably
of it.
my strength and my weakness. I always say, Estée used to say it's her name on the bottle. It has to be the best it can possibly be. And I feel that way as well. Like everything has to be perfect.
How do you think ideas about luxury brands have changed since you started out?
Well, luxury is still about quality and excellence, but I think now there's something more about a quiet luxury in the sense that logos, when I first started my brand, they kept on saying, you need a logo in the sense you need a kind of your monogram or something like take AL and make it into some sort of an icon. And now people are really not wearing logos anymore. So I think that luxury is still something about quality and perfection, but at the same time it's changed. I mean, like, for example, the Row, which is a great fashion brand, it's very, very subtle. It's very understated, but it's truly considered one of the best American luxury brands.
And what about lessons in the journey? One of the lessons I would draw out of just listening to you here is to know that you have confidence in your vision and take the risk. I mean, that's a lesson that, everybody listening to this, all the different clients and people in the Rockefeller ecosystem should take to heart, because you've broken new ground and you've done it so brilliantly.
Thank you.
But other lessons that you've drawn along the way?
Well, to work hard, to stay honest, stay true to who you are. Maybe something might be on trend, but if it's not right for your brand, you don't have to necessarily do it. We don't really have any black in our collection. It's all very feminine, very neutral. There might be a trend with black for interiors, but for us, it's not always right. So I always think that's something that's really important. And also really to stay very unique, to really think about things that are, as I said, true to yourself, that really reflect the brand.
Which for a luxury high-end brand like this is probably very important to do that, right? To keep it special.
We really want to keep it special. And I think now with luxury is changing so much. I mean, people always say experience is the new luxury, or, people don't want as many logos. I mean, luxury keeps changing. And I think that when you walk into our store and you smell a beautiful candle and you hear this great music and you're allowed to discover and explore, that to me is a luxurious experience.
I would agree with that. And I do think, as you said before, it does cut across gender lines. You're pulling almost all of humanity into that experience.
We are. I mean, a lot of people come in with their husband, boyfriend, children, sons, many different generations. What I think is so exciting about the brand is it's not just about one demographic. It's not one group. It's all different ages. I mean, I have a little girl. I was in Palm Beach a few months ago, and this adorable little girl came running up to me, and we came out with a fragrance called Rose de Grace pour Fille, which was all about your first fragrance. And this adorable, she must have been maybe 10 years old, came running up, and she asked if I was Aerin, and I said yes, and she pulled out of her bag the little Rose de Grace fragrance, and it just put such a smile on my face. And then I've become friends with her and her mother. She goes to the Lycée in New York City, and she's adorable. And it just shows me that you could have a customer of any age.
Yeah. Then the impact you're having across, different ages and genders. And what about the extension? We've got the backgammon set, the extension now to include men. When did that start and how is that going?
Well, it's going quite well. And obviously my father, my husband, and many men in my life are a wonderful source of inspiration, my two sons. And what's interesting is that women love to buy things for their home and for their family. And it doesn't always necessarily mean for the kitchen or for something for their vanity. And I think to be able to provide products for them and their husbands or boyfriends or children or sons, I think is really nice. And we have these beautiful items that are in this brown chagrin. So whether it's a backgammon set, which happens to be one of our best sellers, we have desk sets, we have beautiful boxes, trays. So it really is a place, the brand is a place you can go to for gifts for anyone.
That's excellent. So I do want to pivot, given your history, and also you did spend 25 years and you still work.
Yes.
That's your family's business. Talk about your grandmother for a moment, who clearly was an iconic businesswoman and pathbreaker. What lessons did you take away from her life and career, and you knew her well? How did she impact all this? And
she was an amazing woman. I mean, they're celebrating almost 80 years. And when you think about what she created, she grew up in Queens. Her parents were Hungarian. She did not go to college. When my husband got into business school, she's like, oh, that's such a waste. I went to my own business school. So she was very strong. She did say that.
What did Eric say?
He's like, well, I got into Harvard Business School. I'm going to go. And she's like, okay, I guess. But, she was really tough and brilliant. And when you think about what she created in 1946 as a woman, she was passionate, she was driven. And really, her real name was Josephine Estée Lauder. And she did Estée, which was her nickname, and put an accent to sound French because she wanted the jar to have her name on the front and not Josephine Lauder would have gone around the jar. So she had this incredible intuition. She was an amazing businesswoman. There's so many good stories about her. I mean, she created gift with purchase. She was the one that said, no matter who you are, you always want a free gift. And she was right. And
100% true.
there's a great story. She was launching the Estée Lauder brand in the 70s in the UK. I think it was either Selfridges or Harrods. And this amazing car drives up. This woman comes out. She has a little card, and it was the Queen's lady in waiting for the Queen's gift of purchase. And Estée said, "I told you so. I was right." And she was kind of always right. And she really talked about the importance of knowing your customer, as I said before, staying true to who you are, quality, storytelling. You know, when you looked at many of her ads in the past, there wasn't even product in them. It was a beautiful woman. Karen Graham was the model for many, many years, and in this incredible environment, and you wanted to be part of that brand. And the Estée Lauder brand, which I'm still very, very involved with, I work very closely with Estée Lauder, the brand, as well as Renutriv, which is this luxury skincare franchise within Estée Lauder. We just brought back Paulina Porskova, who I'm sure you know from many, many years, and she just turned 60. And she's back at the brand, and she's incredible. And she's such a role model, and Estée found her. And, you know, I just think
So she found her when she was quite young.
she found her when
before
she was quite
anybody.
young. She's from Czechoslovakia. She is still a beauty, and she was a beauty then. She launched Knowing and Beautiful and all these fragrances. And then we just brought her back because she's really into pro-aging. She is very kind of confident, wise, and experienced, and she's an amazing role model for women of all ages.
I think that's terrific. You were talking about still helping with Estée Lauder and the different parts of that. How is it balancing all of that? I mean, you've got, you know, this incredible company that you've built from scratch, and it's your name and you're driving it all, and you're still working with your family's business for, you know, that's been here for so many years, honoring your grandmother. How do you balance all that?
It's so hard. I mean, I have to, you know, one thing Estée always used to say is love what you do and success will come. And I think it's really important, whether you're in banking or an artist or a doctor, you have to love what you do. And I do love what I do. And there's something really exciting and rewarding when I walk into one of our stores, launch a new product, or go to Estée Lauder and work on a campaign. For example, the most recent thing I worked on was the Paulina campaign, and the response has been extraordinary. So it's hard, but you need to find balance, and you need time to unwind.
Many, if not most people in your position, this is an incredible company, family business. You would have stayed with the family business to have had the courage to launch your own and then have it be this successful. But early on, when you were kind of pulling out of one side and putting the time here, were there particular challenges in that, or?
There were a ton of challenges, and sometimes you get very frustrated and a bit kind of depressed about stuff and stressed, but that's what kind of keeps you going. And I think that I really felt strongly and believed in what I was creating, and I really felt that there was a void in the marketplace for a pretty feminine brand with storytelling and heritage. And a lot of brands that were out there were either very modern or very traditional or very very zen, but there wasn't anything that had my specific profile. And I thought that there was a real opportunity, and I was right.
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, just looking at it, and, you know, I think that this will endure. I kind of asked you this before, but strategies to maintain it and continue to extend the brand and reinforce this incredible, unique brand that you built. Mm-hmm. You know, how do you think about that? And, you know, as I said, you've touched on it a little bit, the way you're using the 3 stores and the partnerships with the different retailers, but how do you keep it fresh and moving forward and you know, at the top of the list of luxury brands?
You have to really keep surprising the customer as well as making her happy and listen to her. And we're going to continue to do stores because I think that's a great way for us to showcase the brand as a lifestyle. Because as I said, when you go into a department store, the beauty's on the first floor and home's on a different. So it really allows us to showcase. And if you go into one of our stores, you see it all merchandised together. And I think interesting partnerships and collaborations. And we have a couple really exciting ones coming up in the fall. And I think you just have to keep surprising your customer because you want her to keep coming back.
I like that. I'm going to take that away.
Surprise and delight. We always say that.
Surprise and delight. Mm-hmm. Even within our business, that's because I do think then you're keeping it fresh, and cutting edge, and the customer will keep coming back.
Exactly.
You know, this is the question that I'm sure you've been asked before, that you're inevitably asked. Looking back, and it's been an incredible success story, but nonetheless, looking back now 13 years, things you would have done differently. Is there anything you would have done?
No, I always, that's what keeps me up at night. I wish I had done more stores because, you know, how it started off was we had a store in Southampton, then we did Palm Beach. We did do a store in Miami. I ended up closing it. We were in the design district. And I remember I was walking with my father and he was saying, no one has shopping bags. Everyone is here. It's more of like a touristy experience. And he was right, but it was a great learning experience. Even when you make mistakes, you still learn. But I do think that I would have opened up more stores probably. And I also probably would have started doing collaborations a little bit earlier, because I do see that there's this amazing opportunity when you partner with someone or a brand. And I think it's kind of extraordinary.
Sometimes when you look back on these success stories like Aerin or Amazon, it's just a linear line and it all went well. But obviously, if you're in the middle of it, that's never the case. It's the pivot. The great leaders and great business builders all obviously have challenges and things that don't go right. What do they do in response to that? How do they, you say you're there in Miami with your father and you understand why this didn't work.
Yeah.
And then you look for the place for the next store that's going to work.
Exactly. You learn. And there's what is that wonderful quote? Life starts when your comfort level ends. You have to kind of get out of your comfort zone and go into different areas, different markets, different categories. And I think that's what keeps it evolving a brand.
Now, what about Aerin looking ahead? So now we're in 2025 and it is this now global luxury brand. What comes next?
I've actually just got the green light to be able to go into the world of boys, which is my dreams. The mother of 2 sons. People associate me with flowers and everything beautiful, but I've just gotten the green light from Pottery Barn to do boys.
Excellent. Are you going to consult them, or they want nothing to do with that?
My boys? Yes. I mean, yes, they even though they're 20,
they're proud of you,
even though they're 24 and 25, they still, I think, will definitely consult with me. Obviously, we continue to launch fragrances, so we do 2 a year. So we're coming out with 2 more and another one for little girls.
And how do you determine you do 2 a year? How do you determine that product extension there? You're looking for niches that you haven't done already that are going to be...
Or trends. For example, there's a whole gourmand trend with fragrance, which means that it's kind of more delicious and reference to food. So we're coming out with one in the fall that has kind of a sweet dessert type of concept to it, which I think is really fun, partnering with some interesting chocolate companies. And
is that new? Sorry to interrupt, but is that something that's new to 2025, or have people done that in the past?
People have done it in the past, but I think it's becoming much more popular. So whether it's, doing a fragrance that has more woody notes or something that has more rose, we really follow a lot of the trends. So that's something that we're going to be launching. And so we do, as I said, 2 a year, which is a lot of work.
I think it's brilliant. I have to say, as a man, I think it's brilliant because I think the things that you're doing with these brands, including the music and the store and the fragrance and the candles, this appeals to everybody. I mean, this appeals flowers. I think it is cutting edge.
It is. And, actually after COVID, when you realize people spent so much time at home was a really interesting category and still continues to be. The whole family can enjoy it. You buy home products in multiples. You don't really buy one plate. You buy a few. And candles during COVID did phenomenally well. I mean, Jo Malone was off the charts. And I think it really allows people to escape and dream. And so we have a really large candle business, and we're starting to do more collaborations with candles, which is another fun idea as well. We do it with different artists, different designers. So it really allows some sort of excitement and newness within that category as well.
That's right. And that escape and dream, again, applies to women and men.
Exactly.
One of the things I talk about constantly, the secret sauce here is the entrepreneurial instinct and the small businesses that succeed. Mm-hmm. There are 33 million businesses in the United States with 500 or fewer employees employing 60 million people. And there are several million new businesses every year. But, a lot of those businesses
It's the American dream.
Yeah. Across the whole country in all different kinds of industries. They're often not as successful as this. So we can ask one of the most successful entrepreneurs of recent time, what advice do you provide young people who want to be entrepreneurs? And so many of them do.
Well, follow your dreams, stay true to who you are. And I also think surround yourself with good people. My Uncle Leonard is a real wonderful mentor and so inspiring. And he always says he's only as good as the people around him, and he's surrounded by the best. And I think that that's something, many people have been with me since the first day I launched my brand, and I'm very loyal to them and vice versa. And I think starting something with a wonderful team around you only makes it easier.
Oh, you're spot on. That's the secret sauce of Rockefeller Capital Management. We have great people, and they work together in an environment that we talk about collaboration, collegiality, and excellence. Mm-hmm. I can tell just from talking to you, your bar is high. But if you're going to do anything worthwhile in life, the bar has to be high. But having people that are world-class working together day in and day out in a collaborative fashion, where you have loyalty to them and they have loyalty back, that's really a secret sauce.
I agree.
So I'm not surprised that, Aerin has been as successful as it has. And, your grandmother started this in 46.
Yes.
So she couldn't have imagined where it was 30, 40, 50 years later. What about you 30, 40, 50 years later? If we go out to 20, 30, 40, 50, where is Aerin? What does it look like?
I mean, I think it will look quite similar to the way it is now, with a lot more interesting partnerships, interesting collaborations. You know, as I said, Williams-Sonoma was really a dream come true, and I'm always looking for more. We have a couple of meetings next week, some other interesting partners. And I think just constantly continuing to grow the consumer base and really making them happy. And I hope that I have multi-generations. I think to me that really defines success, when someone can go in with their mother and their daughter and still everyone finds something in the store that they love or the brand. So for me, that's kind of where I want to be in many, many years.
It's a fantastic story. I congratulate you on it.
Thank you very much.
It really is the heart of our country and economy. There are so many people here who dream of doing things like Aerin, and you did it.
Thank you.
And bravo. It's a look at the results. So thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on everything you've built.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a role model for so many other Americans who want to build a business.
Thank you.
Great to see you, Aerin.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, Aerin, for sharing your inspiring journey with us today. Your experiences in creating a brand that resonates with elegance and sophistication have been truly enlightening, and we appreciate your insights on what it means to embrace and carry on a remarkable family legacy. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy these uniquely Rockefeller conversations as much as we enjoy bringing them to you. All the best.